Coming up on the quarterfinal post-game show, we're going to break down the one quarterfinal game. Weird, I know. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about how two of our analysts had to eat some crow in person. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. That's why as the host, you never make a pick. You kind of get to play Sweden, and you get to, just smile and nod at everybody. We're going to preview the semifinals, which set up to be two matchups from our Week 9 snow day, earlier games extravaganza. So go figure that out, how that kind of just moved itself to the semifinals. But at least we have some stuff to go off of. And then we're going to preview All-Star Night, which is Wednesday the 18th, so about a week away from when you're watching / listening to this. And so the semifinals are Sunday. All-Star Night is next Wednesday. The finals are that Sunday, and that's it. That's a wrap for the winter season. So a lot to get to. Let's start with our sponsor, Ultra Barber Salon. I did it. You can tell. New and improved here since the last show. Aidan, not so much. I'm not going to comment on anyone else. It's all good. But go to Ultra Barber Salon in West Warwick, the official barbershop of the Legacy Leagues. We can break some news. We'll just do it. The finals MVP will be getting some stuff from them, like a free haircut. So we hope it's put to use there, as well as the regular season MVP, which no one knows who that is yet, except for some people on this show. So we'll be releasing all that in the coming week, but we have two big semifinal games coming up. I'm very excited. So let's get to the show and talk about how we got to the semis. Yeah. This is the Legacy League. Tell me where your legacy be. Yeah. I guess I can't say it anymore. The Mambas don't Mamba no more. I don't know. They get the win. They advance to the semis, and our top 4 seeds advance. We're going to break down that quarterfinal game first, where they defeated Rags, and then they have a rematch that they were maybe a little too excited for in that post-game interview with the Road Dogs, which will be a good game. Our other semifinal is the Halfway Crooks and Load Management. Again, both of these matchups happened kind of recently, about 3 weeks ago. And before the big snowstorm here on the Northeast, as it's 70 degrees almost outside today. So just a fun time in March, I guess it's what it is. But the madness for sure is just getting going because two great semifinals. Let's start with, and we'll kind of go around here, the lone game we have to break down. It was the Air Mambas doing what they do, and we'll get to that, defeating Rags in our lone playoff game from this Sunday. 88-72, the Air Mambas win. They were up at halftime. Rags tried to make a run in that third quarter. I'll do some stats in a second. We'll go to Maya first. We'll just go around on my screen. Maya, talk about the Air Mambas. Go wherever you'd like, and I'll kind of fill in some stuff. But I think an impressive performance because of, and what we talked about during that post-game interview, they've had stretches where they've admitted, what are we doing? Like, why is this happening? Why are some of these offensive struggles happening? They limited that against Rags, and they'll have to limit it even more against the Road Dogs. But what else did they do, Maya, to get the win in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, so I had 3 things that I think like they did really well. One was constant and good communication. I think they communicated all 4 quarters, which I haven't heard them do at all this season. Like, they'll communicate some and then stop. Constant communication, all 4 quarters from the bench to the people on the court. They made extra passes. This is the Mambas team that I wasn't expecting to play all 4 quarters. That's why I picked against them. There was one possession, wide open 3, but we make the extra pass for an easy layup. I just think they played really good team ball and making the extra passes and taking the first shot they saw. They did it sometimes, but it's basketball, that happens. And then the Shaq explosion. Shaq, I think, had 38, and it just felt like he hit everything, whether it was good defense or not good defense. Shaq, he had an incredible game, and if he plays like that and they're making extra passes, that they are a hard team to beat. Hence why they went out and put up almost 90 points. So those are the 3 things I saw from the Air Mamas that stood out.
I like it, and Shaq for sure. He felt like he didn't miss because he kind of didn't. 6 of 12 from 3, and when he's doing that and doing a lot of the other things he does pretty consistently, getting to the rim, rebounding, 38 for him, like we talked about, in 7 rebounds. Chris Vincenzo with 16 and 7 as well. Chris Fague with 15. Steve Simone was back with 13 and 9. And I think him helping down low was huge. I noticed that a lot, kind of one of their bigger guys. Luis Ramirez, 4 points, and he's another one of those bigger guys that kind of had to take on some of that defensive stuff down low. I'll finish the stats really quick. Richard Hall, 28 points, 4 of 8 from 3. We'll get to. I'll put Aidan on the spot for Rags in a second. Josh Perry with 16 and 5. Joe Secator with only 15. And I say it that way because kind of expect more from him as one of the guys who's been in these playoffs a lot. Peyton, what'd you see from the Air Mambas and how they were able to advance?
From the Air Mambas, I can always see that they are a very good communicated team. They all know each other very well, and they communicate very well. So, throughout the game, although there was a little bit of a comeback from Rags afterwards, they were able to find themselves yet again in the fourth quarter. Just by simple communication and team chemistry that they always have for every game, that's exactly what you need to go and win these games, and they can certainly make a big way to the championship if they continue doing that.
Well, we'll see, because stick around, because I'm going to put you guys back on the spot with like our question from last week, which, who controls the ceiling. So you'll kind of get to pick a player and your pick for each of the 2 semifinals. It's a good question, and it could be different this week, right? There's different matchups. As we talked about the Air Mamas, we'll get the Road Dogs, who they made sure to mention it in that interview. They were up 15 on the Road Dogs on that wacky Sunday where it was the afternoon, the sun was out, it was cold, but it was an earlier start, and the Mambas were looking like everything we just talked about. Communicating, defense, getting stops, hitting shots, and then the Road Dogs flipped it, which we knew that run was going to come, and I don't want to step too much on that preview part of it, because the run did come in this one, Tyler, in that third quarter where Rags tried to flip it, and definitely got it to single digits. 5 or 6 or 7 points maybe was kind of the closest they got at 5. We got a 5 from Aidan. So they were coming. They were trying to make this a game, erase that deficit, just not enough. But how did the Air Mambas, Tyler, kind of stop that run and finish the deal in this matchup in the quarterfinals?
I really felt like I saw kind of like a lack of defense from Rags, like starting kind of at that quarter. Like the dynamic both teams had going on. Like I think Air Mambas, like that was one of the best games I've seen them really like working together as a team, and like everyone was like really like supportive of each other. Like I feel like there's a lot of like, not like complaining, but like a lot of like people lose focus, and like the team was really locked in and like playing together and like passing. But I feel like once they started to really pick up, and especially like Shaq, he nailed like a bunch of, oh wait, hold on. Yeah, Shaq. He nailed like a bunch of those shots. Like I remember, I feel like Perry, like he's like kind of like their like leader for Rags. Like I just kind of saw like a lack of like energy, and like he's very like at like vocal for the team and like helping set up and everything. And like I just felt like kind of the whole die out of that. Not blaming you, Perry, you do great, but just saying like I just feel like it really influenced like how they played as a team, and Air Mambas kind of like used that as like their extra energy to just keep pushing and playing hard.
And both teams had all their players, right? Which is something in the regular season sometimes we overlook, where if, the Air Mambas don't have a Steve Simone, it kind of throws everything else off, or a Luis Ramirez, right? They were able to kind of go have 6 subs that all can kind of contribute and not kind of have any drop off, right? And not have to play with only 5, or, only have that 1 sub. Same with Rags. They had all their pieces, which makes them a more dangerous team like we've seen. Aidan, you can bid the Rags farewell if you don't mind. We've talked a lot about the Mambas, and we're going to talk more about them because they'll have to do a lot of the same things we're talking about for a full 40 minutes against the Road Dogs team that I'm sure is ready to go with the players that they have, right? Kevin Views and Noah James, Demoyenis, and then that 4th player, like we've talked about, is going to be big for the Road Dogs. But for Rags, so we talked about it. They split, and I screwed it up last week. They split the regular season. Okay, that was the Rags, one of their wins. The other game was close. It wasn't like it was a blowout. This one felt like the widest margin of the 3 matchups. The Mambas, for large portions of this game, looked like the better team for sure. Like if you had to pick based on the eye test, not knowing anything, the Mambas looked like the better team. Again, maybe for all of the game except that third quarter. right? That would probably be the stretch where you're like, oh, Rags, it looks even. It looks like they can win this game. What happened in this one? Was it, not making shots? I mean, you can talk about Rags, Aidan, and just an interesting season where they've definitely made strides, just couldn't do it in a one-game playoff against the Air Mambas.
Yeah, like you said, in the beginning of the game, it was a 10-2 run by the Mambas, and it somewhat felt like it was over at the end. They heard that Maya and I picked the Rags, and they wanted to make us eat our words, and that's exactly what they did. But the Mambas, I'll touch on them for a second. They played great. I said last week, Shaq alone is controls the ceiling for his team, and he comes out and drops 40 points. There was one shot where he's driving in midi on the left corner of the court, and he calls bank and banks it off the glass. I'm like, yeah, that's just how the game's gonna go. And he called it, so he made it. And like Maya said, and Peyton and Tyler all said, the road dogs. Whoa, the Air Mambas communicated the whole entire time. There was no wasted breath, no wasted movement, no anything on that team, and they were poised and they were ready to play this game. And it was a fantastic win. And now for the Rags, like we said, I had to go back in the clip. They cut it to 5 with 4.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and you felt like the Rags were going to come back. And even at halftime, Jake was sitting with me at the scores table, or even entering the 30s, like, is this over? And we're like, we don't really know because we know how the Rags can get hot. And the Rags got hot, but then they cooled off again. And we always talk about Joe, Josh, and Rich. And yes, they're going to give you those solid 15 to 20 points, even 30 points a game. But if you don't have that fourth player who's also giving you super valuable minutes, super valuable time, you're like we talk about the Roll Dogs. Who's their fourth player? The Rags. Who's the Rags' fourth player? Devontae Davis has had a very good season. He's gotten a lot better since we've seen him in the legacy leagues. But they need a big or another commanding presence. Because when you have Joe, Josh, and Rich, they all command a certain amount of ball time. And they all will play off of each other and they're all unselfish. But if you're playing and you're only thinking of I'm gonna dish it to two other guys when you have a whole fourth person on the court, you're basically end up playing a 3-on-4. I'm not saying that any of the Rags players lack the skill to be in this league because they all have the skill, but in my eyes, watching the game, it's kind of like they're playing a 3-on-4 because yes, they can score, but if they're not getting to the basket or utilizing their strengths or anything like that, they're not useless, but they're not as much use in these games. And we're always going to talk about that triple-headed monster. Hopefully they run it back and retool. But looking into going on next season for the Rags, I think they need to retool. I think they need to get that fourth who will play as hard as the others. I think they all play hard, but I don't know what it is. It's really hard to say because it's tough for not professional analysts, but just looking at these 9 games that we've seen, you always felt like, yeah, the Rags are going to have those 3 guys, but who's their fourth? It's really only, like, again, no offense to any of the players, but it's really only a 3v4 when the Rags are playing because no, the fourth player is not necessarily creating their own shots or making much space. It's kind of lack of movement unless Josh tells you where to go. And I think that's realistically what happens with the Rags is they need to be told. Some of them need to be told where to go, but some of them also know. So they have some things to work on, but overall, a pretty good season for them, and obviously a very great season for the Mambas.
Well, and those things that we're talking about, and we'll see how it impacts the Road Dogs, but on Rags, kind of to wrap up that point, you notice those things more in the playoffs, right? Or in a game that is a must-win in the regular season that's being treated like a playoff game. So we'll see next week, but that's a wrap for that one. Lob City unable to get a team, so the halfway crooks advance. Speaking of having your full team there, on Lob City for a second, last summer, I had to check. I lied. Last winter. Where am I? Last winter, they beat the Washed Up Boys by a point. And they capped off an undefeated season there, 5th, under different names, but their 5th undefeated season this time a year ago. and Almar was on that team, finals MVP. And now you kind of fast forward, they lose in the semifinals over the summer to the eventual champion Skyhawks, and then they were the 6th seed coming into this playoffs for a ton of different reasons. And so we hope that's not how this book gets closed on Lob City, because one of the best teams the league has seen, had a 900 winning percentage nearly at one point. They were 90-10-ish in their first 100 games in the league, which is insane. And so hopefully they're able to come back and compete again, which always makes the league better the more teams we get to compete. But let's do the semifinal preview, and then we'll end it with the All-Star preview. And so let's talk about we'll use those first matchups, and I'll throw that question to you guys, but let me set the scene first. And we'll do the other matchup because we just talked a ton about the Air Mambas. So we'll start with the Halfway Crooks, the 3 seed taking on Load Management, the 2 seed. And that'll be at 8 o'clock, and that'll be this Sunday. I believe it's the 15th, March 15th. There it is. And if you go back on the schedule, it's under week 5, but both of these games happened on February 22nd, both of our semifinal matchups. It was a 3-point win for Load Management. That means the game was tied after Load Management made a huge run in the 3rd quarter, heading into the 4th quarter. And if we can relive it if you'd like, but I'd rather not. Halfway Crooks are up 6 with a minute to go. We know the rest from there, right? Load Management made some plays. The Halfway Crooks did not. And that was the difference between a 2 and a 3 seed. Turned out not to matter, but it almost did. I'd rather have the 2 seed than play any type of team with Lob City across their chest in a quarterfinal matchup. Okay, so it ended up kind of setting up a rematch between these two teams. In that game, no Jared Hansen, and so he'll be back. 10 of 30 for the Crooks from 3. If you remember, Nick Lemoyne had a huge 4th quarter, and that was almost the difference for the Halfway Crooks. Almar Sabat went nuts, 33 points, 5 rebounds, 4 threes, and was huge in that 3rd quarter run for Load Management and really throughout the game. Jonathan Batista, 19 and 9, and Leonard Williams with 13 and 8. And so, let's just lastly, no Rodney Theodore in that game, and I expect him to be back, especially since it's the playoffs. And so you kind of have some pieces coming back for both teams. We'll go Aidan first, and you really only get a sentence or two, but that'll give you guys some time. So we did one for each team last time, didn't we? All right, we got to do it again. So Aidan, it was Load Management winning, 3-ish weeks ago. Which player for each team controls the ceiling? So kind of your X factor, but it's a little different than that. Which player is going to be key in this matchup for each team? You can just say their names. You can give a little explanation and save the pick. We're going to do the pick. Yeah, we'll go around and do the pick after. So just name your 2 players, Aidan, one for each team.
All right, so my player who controls the ceiling for the Halfway Crooks is I'm gonna pick Nick. I'm gonna pick Nick Lemoyne just based on he won MVP last season. He knows what it takes to win in this league, and he plays winning basketball. Then that's my reasoning for that. Load Management. The easiest answer to say is Almar because Almar is great, but I'm not going to pick Almar because we know how hard and how well Almar is going to play. I think it's Malik Chase, based off of the ending to week 10 where they beat the Mambas and solidified the 2 seed. Malik Chase had 27 points. He was hitting his shots. He was communicating. I know I'm speaking a lot, but the reasoning is just I think if he's scoring at a good pace, he just elevates this team a lot more.
Well, and that was probably Malik Chase's best game, right? Coming at a great time to end the regular season, and I'm sure he's going to expect to roll that over. Maya, because you've done this, and we're going to do the pick, so you have to make sure we don't repeat, the mistakes of picking Rags last week. But your 2 players, Maya, yeah, and a sentence or 2 is great. You can just list the names, whatever you want to do. But your X factor-ish or the players who control the ceiling for each team in this one.
So I'm going to start with Load Management because my answer is the same as Aidan's, and I think it's Malik Chase too. I think he's really good on defense, and he's tall, so he's kind of a presence inside, and he can go to the outside and hit some threes, which I think the Load Management struggles a little bit at times. So I think he'll be big for them. And for the Halfway Crooks, I'm going to go with Jared Hansen. and I'm simply going with him because he missed the last matchup, and he's a deadly 3-point shooter, which I think can elevate the halfway crooks in this game even more. So those are my two answers.
Well, and on load management quickly, Almar's going to most likely get his, right? And you can try your best to stop it. So then it becomes, okay, who else is going to score to kind of get this team or any team really in the playoffs to that 60, 65 point mark? Because that's kind of what I expect. The last matchup was, and I just checked and I already forgot because I'd like to forget that game, 74-71. And so that, again, a lot of points kind of in that last minute, really, right? It was in that 60-ish range that we're talking about. And so I expect a repeat of that, especially with how much more deliberate everything is kind of in the playoffs and slower, and the pace slows down with two good teams, right? We expect this game to be close. And then for the halfway crooks, I love it. You can obviously piggyback a little bit, but yeah, cool. All right, Peyton, who you got?
So I'll start with halfway crooks, and my key X factor for halfway crooks, I'm gonna take Aiden DeZoy's, simply just because when I've seen him play this year, he's known when to turn it on at the right times. He scores a lot of points for the team, and I feel like he can definitely do something again to turn it on, especially now that it's the end of the season. It is the right time for him to do so, so I can see him doing that. And as for load management, I'm actually going to pick Rodney Theodore because he is a top player on the team. And obviously, we know Almar, like we've said, is the easy choice. He's like the second man up on the team, so I feel like he can match up just as much as Almar does every single game.
Perfect. All right, last but not least, Tyler, who you got?
I would have said Aiden for halfway crooks, but I don't think he's been here the past 2 weeks or so, and like I feel like that can honestly like throw you off like in a game, like the whole like dynamic that you have going. So I'm gonna go with Nick. I feel like he's really been a key player and stepping up for the team the past few weeks. And for load management, I'm gonna say Batista. I just feel like I'm gonna just switch it up a little bit, but I feel like he's always just like kind of in the key, and like when they need him for like, you always need to think about like those like secondary like players that kind of get you those points that really like push you over the line. So I think he's like a good like key player that's kind of there whenever they all like sub in. So yeah.
Yeah, and especially in the playoffs, right? If Almar gets his 40, right, and Rodney Theodore does his thing in 15 to 20, being the athlete he is, and Malik Chase hits some threes, right, puts him in that range. That's almost 60. And so now if you get any other player, and this goes for both teams, you can list the names, but if you get any other player to contribute 8 to 10 points kind of out of nowhere, unexpected, more or less, that's kind of what we're talking about, right? And it isn't always offense either, but that is one way. All right. Let's do the picks, and just to kind of break this up. We'll stay on this game. All right, so you get your pick, and then like 2 or 3 words. All right, because we're gonna try to finish. Yeah, this should be a quicker show. All right, so Maya, halfway crooks, load management, and then your short explanation why.
I'm going halfway crooks, and I'm gonna go snipers, or 3-point shooting, however you want to say it.
Well, and if a team is making shots, that kind of usually keeps the other team out of transition, right? Which load management has been so good at, especially in those runs we've seen. They've been getting stops and getting out and running. And so if you can make shots, that's one way to slow a team down, right? It kind of starts with yourself there. If Aiden picks the halfway crooks, I hope it's not a jinx going on over there with you two, because if it's 2 weeks in a row, we're going to have to do some voodoo stuff to make sure that we knock this off. All right, Aiden, let's just see if we're doing this. Go ahead.
So you're gonna be saved from any of the voodoo just because I'm gonna pick load management. I said last week I think load management will make it to the finals. I'm not gonna go back on my word. My mind is kind of flipped. The crooks are very good. Load management is very good. My one word or sentence reasoning, hunger.
All right, and we figured it out. It was 4 in a row, 3 in a row for load 4. Yeah, it was 3, and then it got up to 4 heading into that with that win in the last week of the regular season. So they're on a little winning streak, and for good reason. They're playing like the 2 seed. They're playing like a team that we would see in the finals and can do some things. Again, when their full team is there, right? When a Malik Chase is there and a Rodney Theodore is there with an Almar Sabat who's always there. That's when you start to see what this team can really be. Tyler, who you got and why?
It's like a hard pick because both teams have been playing really well. But I'm going to go with Halfway Crooks, and I'm going to say short words. I'm trying to think of a way to say it, but I'm just trying to say that better.
Just say it.
I don't know.
The full thing.
Better consistency. Like, I feel like you guys play consistently, and load management doesn't always play super consistent. So yeah.
All right. Perfect. Yeah, it's not officially the one-word game, but yeah, that's totally good. I love it. Peyton, who you got and why?
I'm going to pick Halfway Crooks, and my few words that I'm going to pick is team chemistry, because I feel Halfway Crooks, not that load management has no team chemistry, I just feel Halfway Crooks has just that a little bit more, and if they use all that, they've used it to their advantage before, where they can find the weakness of the other team and beat them. So I'm going to pick Halfway Crooks.
Yeah, and we talked about this season being wide open, right? The last 2 times the Halfway Crooks have been in the finals, they met Lob City. And so now that, Lob City is officially out, which is like, you almost can't believe it. We talked about it being a season where it's kind of wide open. Well, this is the definition of it, right? You could see kind of either team in the finals in both matchup, which is something that we'll see if you guys actually pick it in a second. All right, let's get to that other matchup. So we had 3 for the Halfway Crooks and 1 for load management. By the way, Almar's story was so funny. He took the power rankings from week 4 when they were 1 and 3, or the numbers are all screwed up. But when they were, the 5th ranked team in the rankings, and now they're the 2 seed, right, with a bye because of that winning streak. So how quickly things can change. Let's get to the other semifinal matchup. We talked about it. It's the top seeded Road Dogs and the 4th seeded Air Mambas. All right, we'll flip the order. Same deal. Let's do the X Factor. You can call it whatever you like. We're kind of all saying the same thing. The one player from each of these teams, the Air Mambas and the Road Dogs, in this matchup, you think are the keys for these teams to advance to the finals. Now we're getting good. Both these matchups are good. They're going to be close games. It might come down to kind of the last couple plays in each of these games. We're gonna flip it around. Peyton, you're first. All right, one player, same thing. We're going to keep it short, right? One player from each team in a sentence or two. Your player who controls the ceiling for each of these teams.
Well, I'm honestly, this might not be the greatest option, but I'm going to take the obvious option for Road Dogs and say Noah James, because you could arguably say he has been the best player this season, and he's been leading his team to a very good season. That's why they've only had 1 loss this entire season, and he's a big part of that. And for Air Mambas, I'm also probably going to take the obvious option and say Shaq Cologne, because he's been just so dominant this season. If you saw his last game, he was very dominant in every single category, so I see both those players really stepping up big time. When it's time to do so, it's now, and they definitely need to, and they know that.
We talked about the Road Dogs and how important Kevin Views has been. Well, that's actually a good pick, because we expect Noah James to also be at his best in a game like this. Poor hosting by me. Really quick, we talked about that game back in week 9. The Road Dogs won by 10. It was a 59-25 second half for the Road Dogs. Okay, and that's how you erase a 15-point deficit and win by 10, right? If you start doing some math on those numbers. But that's how big and how quickly, or how much they adjusted after halftime to flip it. And so which version are we going to see? What's going to be different? What matchups will be the same and different? Because we will never really get an answer of what changed. But of course, when teams started making more shots, and we talk about Kevin Views having a huge game. He did make 9 of 14 from 3 in that game, and that happened during that run, right? He started to get hot, so that can be one explanation for that. How are they going to guard him? And for the Air Mambas, And what are the Mambas going to try to replicate from that first half? Because that's the goal, right? They did it for 20 minutes, right? You have to do that for 40, but they had a recipe that was working. So we'll see. And all the matchups that fall in between there. All right, Tyler, back to it. Your 2 players and a little explanation for each.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with for Road Dogs, Kevin Views. He just really gets like those fast points you need. I feel like some of the players will like chance it and go for like 3-pointers and stuff, but like he always drives to the basket, and that's like a good, quick, easy way to get points. So I feel like that would be reliable for the team to get points. And then for Air Mambas, I'm gonna go with Steve, because I feel like he does fall back. He like gets back a lot on like D, and I feel like that's like a lot of what the teams were missing, and they just kind of like and then it's like adds up. It's like 10 baskets you kind of lose. So I feel like he's like one of those good offensive and defensive players. So yeah.
And a lot of what at least I remember from that run was a lot of the Air Mambas kind of taking those quick shots, leading to the fast break for the Road Dogs, when they were flipping the game. And Steve Simone is the type of player that if he's going to hit some of those shots, again, we talk about it. If you can make a shot, it's kind of the first way of keeping a team out of transition against you the other way, most of the time, right? A lot of times, sometimes you can still pull it off. But when you're missing and those long rebounds are missing because you're taking those quick shots like the Air Mambas have done from time to time, that's what leads to the other team getting some easy ones. And then you see it go in, and then Kevin Views hits a 3, right? And then Noah James gets one to go, and it's 10 points later because they saw one go in, because you missed a long one. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And we can talk about some clock management stuff in a second, because the Air Mambas tried, trashing the end of that Rags game, and I'll say it because I was sitting there at the end of the third quarter. They're taking timeouts. Shaq Cologne's in foul trouble. Hey, a win's a win, but Mario, do better. And I know he listens and he'll hear this. Do better, Mario. Listen to the OGs when we're telling you not to take a timeout or to take Shaq out, okay? Shaq had 4 fouls in the third quarter. 50 seconds left. There was a timeout. You're up. At that point, they were still up 10. It's like, what? Take them out. You get to the fourth quarter with 4 fouls. You're feeling good. It's a playoff game. Nope. Shaq gets a charge call. With 37 seconds left in the third quarter, we're like, we told you. So but those little things, and I only bring that up because those little things can affect the outcome when it's one game like this, right? That's a 5th foul for one of your better players. It didn't impact them there, so Mario was right? It all worked out. But I wouldn't chance that again against a Road Dogs team where you would like to have the players you want to have and not be kind of playing tentative with foul trouble. Maya, who are your 2 players and why?
So for the Air Mambas, I have Luis Ramirez. I think his big presence inside, because Road Dogs, they love to lob it up. So he's going to be really important to minimize that. So I think he needs to be physical inside and slow that down. And for the Road Dogs, I'm really stuck between 2 players in Bostic and Burgess. We've talked about needing a 4th. And I think if they can give 7 points, that the Road Dogs, either one of them, the Road Dogs will win this game.
That's a great point. That's 2 threes from Bostic, right? On a drive and kick from somebody, right? Or that's kind of a couple putback dunks for Zeki and for what he can do, getting some rebounds, playing some defense. Yeah. If we see that in the stats kind of in the third quarter and one of those players has it going a little bit, it's like, oh, yep, this is the recipe, right? Everyone else is going to kind of fill in around them. So I like it for the Road Dogs. We'll see, because just looking back at that box score, last time they played, Zeki had 2. Karan Bostic made those 2 threes, but it was, 70 points, 80 points. 80 points combined for Kevin Views, Noah James, and Demoy Ennis when these 2 teams last met, and even 80. So you would like to not have to do that again, right? That becomes a little easier to stop than when you're getting some help all around. Aidan, last but not least, who you got?
So for who controls the ceiling, I'm not going to pick Shaq like I did last week. I'm going to pick Chris Faig. Just based on his ability to drive in and kick out and just make the right basketball move is, I think, a very, very key option. And my reasoning is just going back to last week's game where the Raiders cut it to 5. Chris gets the ball and he drives in, he gets fouled and he makes the bucket and one, and that kind of shifted that energy. So I'm gonna go with Chris Fag. Now for the Road Dogs, like you said, they haven't found their main fourth. Karan's a good pick. Z's a good pick. I'm gonna go easy and I'm just gonna pick Kevin Views. Kevin Views has been on an absolute tear lately. He's stepped up when they needed him to step up with Omar and Ethan going down, and I just think if Kevin's on fire and Noah's on fire, it's hard to guard both of them with the same intensity because they will either get by you or they will make shots over you. So I think if both of them are on, mainly Kevin, I think it's wraps.
Well, there's the assignment for the Air Mambas, right? Is stop two of the better scorers the league has. So there you go, and that's what happens in the semis. That's what you're tasked with if you want to go to the finals. All right, your pick, and then like one sentence max, right? A couple words is perfect. What we did last time. Aidan, who you got?
So still, again, I'm not going to go back on my word. I'm going to pick the Road Dogs. I love the Mambas. I know they hate me sometimes, but they all appreciate it. My reasoning, firepower. That's pretty simple.
Well, and we've seen a team with these types of players do it for the full game, right? Where the Mambas have looked really good in a couple of these games. They haven't done it in a game like this against a team like the Road Dogs. Tyler, who you got and why?
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna go with the Air Mambas. I picked you guys last week and you didn't let me down, and you guys have only improved, so keep it up. Mario, you got it.
All right. Well, and hey, Mambas in the finals would change a lot of things, right? And so that's what the season's about. We love it. We love it. Maya, who you got and why?
Yeah, I gotta go Road Dogs. I picked them last week to win it all. And my reasoning is this big three got me. Last week I chose the Rags because of their big three. I'm going to go with the same reasoning for Road Dogs, but they got me this time.
Well, and I was going to say, your reason for picking the Road Dogs is because you picked the Rags last week is not a good reason because, as we know, the Rags did not come through. Okay, but yes, a different team and the Road Dogs with their big three. Peyton, who you got and why?
I'm going to once again take the Road Dogs this game, and my answer would probably be one seed dominance. Now, no disrespect to the Air Mambas, I do think they're a very good team, and they're going to be a very good matchup to the Road Dogs. But I just feel as if Road Dogs they've only had one loss this year, and they have much more momentum right now coming off a bye. And they just have the better players to play together, and especially now with playoffs, it's that time where they're gonna step up.
Let's do it while we still can. Peyton, do you know who that loss was to?
I'm gonna guess you.
Damn right. All right, but two very good semifinals, and so you get to say one word, which is your champion. And so, if I'm correct, Peyton had Road Dogs and Halfway Crooks. So, Peyton, who is your champion as of today between those two teams?
My champion as of those two teams. I'm not gonna. Nothing's gonna happen if I say Road Dogs, right? Because
No, all right. One vote for Road Dogs. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna pick Road Dogs to win, just simply because I feel they have the better team and they have a great team right now, and it's just pure dominance as the one seed. No disrespect to Halfway Crooks, like I said about Air
Wow.
Mambas, but they just have
I
the
mean,
better players and better team going right now.
I'll speak for my team. I feel disrespected. It's okay. Aidan, you have Road Dogs load management. Just your champion, because we're gonna preview the real finals next week. We will have a show, and so we'll have plenty of time to analyze, and we're gonna go much more in depth. Who's your champion?
Oh God, Joey, that's tough. If I'm sitting here right now on what day it is, Tuesday, um, I'm I'm going to pick the Road Dogs.
Okay, that's it. That's it.
Yep.
Maya, you had Halfway Crooks, Road Dogs. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to stay up to speed here. Who's your champion? One word.
Yeah. Road Dogs. I chose them last week, and I'm just
It's
going.
more. It's more. All right. Yep. Too many words. Tyler. Okay. You had Air Mambas, Halfway Crooks. Imagine that. Who's your champion as of today?
Halfway Crooks.
All right. Listen. You can't go wrong. It's you may not be correct, but we'll take it. We'll take it. I don't feel disrespect from that pick. Let's put it that way. Some other people disrespect flying around. So that's going to be the semifinals, right, on Sunday. Okay. All-Star Night is now in between that and the finals. So we're going to do a show normally where we won't know what happens at All-Star Night, and we'll preview the finals. So our next show will be a finals preview show fully. Let's get into some All-Star stuff, and we'll do the contest. I'll kind of list who's in it. You guys can make some picks, and we'll get out of here because we did a good job with only one game this week. But some good semifinals to talk about. I'm happy with that. Here we go. Let's preview All-Star Night. All right, it'll be Wednesday, March 18th. We'll kick off at 7 o'clock with our slam dunk contest. And so, Demoy Ennis is the defending champion. He's still on the fence if he will be there. Rich Hall has confirmed from Rags that he will be there. Aiden Dozos is also up in the air, but he got in. Rodney Theodore, so far, is confirmed from load management. He will be there. Terrence Gallo and Zeki Burgess will also both be there as of right now. Things can change. People can show up. We will break some news here on the show, if you're still listening at the 41.5-minute mark. With it being our 10th year anniversary, we are allowing any past champ of these contests an invite to come back. And so I haven't heard... So, Terrence has won a whole bunch of these, so he's already in, so that's good. As far as the dunk contest, Victor Cashew Jr., who is still playing in the league, won it a long time ago. And so I haven't heard from him. I know he's been out of the country, literally. And so we'll see if he comes back as a defending champ. And Noah West has an invitation extended. One of our most viewed clips was from a game of his. He won the dunk contest. Even though his name is also Noah, he definitely... You when you see Noah West, you know Noah West in the Legacy League. And so hopefully he comes back. Hopefully Q can be there. Terrence Gallo, Rodney Theodore, a first-time participant. Zeki Burgess has done this a couple times. Like I told them, and Rich Hall, a first-timer who we saw practicing a couple weeks ago, and was like, oh, yep, no, this is going to be good. This should be good. So if we can get Noah West back and even Dub back, I like it. It's going to be very entertaining. All right, so I know I gave a lot of names. Just name your winner. We're not going to analyze the dunk contest. They can dunk it like no shit, right? So just pick your winner, all right? So Maya, who do you think from that list is going to win it? Like just the name. That's all we're doing.
Rich Hall.
Okay, we got to vote for Rich. Yeah. Peyton.
Rich Hall.
Okay. Aidan. It's cheating. You better say who you. Go ahead.
I can't say who I want to say because you haven't confirmed that he's coming or not.
Oh, well then Q. Yep. Tyler, who you got?
Yeah, Q.
I'll say Rich.
Okay. Noah West is like Aidan. I'm shocked. Like, and so here's the go ahead.
Wait.
One sentence.
My answer was Noah West. You took the words from me. You said Q.
Oh,
so
good.
I agree with you because I was like,
All right,
keep it
good.
moving. But it's Noah West if Noah West shows up. It's Noah West.
And the Q, and I was talking to him. I'm like, yo, you gotta like look at past dunk contests. That's my message to them. Bring props. Like you have to semi-plan like to get an edge, right? Don't just show up and be like, I'll try this today. Sometimes that works. But for Q, and I told him this, he's bigger. And so it doesn't look as good. Like if Terrence does the same dunk as Q, and he's admitted it, like Terrence's looks cooler, right? Noah West is bigger than Terrence, but he isn't Q, right? And so when he jumps as high as Q does, but he's not as big, like it just looks better. And of course, everybody's different. Everyone has their own things that they like to do, but you gotta like jump over people, like so. Without people getting hurt, obviously. Cool. All right, dunk contest. Followed, I went out of order because that'll be at 7:30. I don't know who I am right now. First will be the three-point contest. It's all good. Just make sure you follow us on social media. Keep an eye on YouTube all night. It's all good. The dunk contest will be second, 7:30, March 18th I apologize. 7 p.m. will be the 3-point contest. We always start with that. And that also means past champions are invited. And so we do have the 3-time defending champ, Noah James, who got in on his own again because he's still playing. 5-time Rhode Island champion Jared Hansen has confirmed he will be back, even though he didn't get voted in. It was close. He got some votes. So he gets an invitation as a past champ. And we've seen Jared and Noah in this contest, and it's been fun, shooting-wise. And we have some good names on the list as well. And I don't even know if I'm going to do it yet, because I'm the only other Rhode Island champion. It's Jared, myself, and Noah James. That's it. And so those two are already in. We'll see. That's 2-time. No, 1 time. I only got it once. Twice in Connecticut. I apologize. There's so many. It's hard to keep track. The other people for Rhode Island, Tyler Siccione, his first one. Steve Simone, I believe he did it at least last season, so he'll be back. Kevin Views, he's done it in Mass, if not also Rhode Island, but he's done it before. Malik Chase, a first-timer. Rich Hall, also doing the 3-point contest because he made a ton of threes as well as dunked on people. And Nick Lemoyne, who has done the 3-point contest before. So, everyone good with the names? I know you kind of have to pick one as I'm going. Noah James, Siccione, Simone, Views, Malik Chase, Rich Hall, and Nick Lemoyne. All right, Tyler, just one word again. This is good. Who do you think would win? And Jared Hansen, again, also will be in it. But who you got, Tyler?
Tyler.
So, okay, I was like, that's you. No, Tyler Siccione. All right, sorry. That's why I hit a face. All right, Maya, who you got?
Noah James.
Okay. Peyton?
Nick Lemoyne.
Okay, that would be his first. Aidan?
I'm going to go with Tyler too. It's Tyler
All right.
Siccione.
It would be something if someone not named, and forget me, but Noah James or Jared Hansen, if someone else besides those two won it. Noah James, a great shooter, but it's different in the 3-point contest with the ball rack, and you're not being passed the ball. It's like it's different, and it definitely takes some adjusting, which is why I think kind of so many people kind of win it. The same people win it because it's different. It's different than shooting in a game or shooting during warm-ups. Okay, the All-Star game. We did East and West, and so I'll list the teams, and then they're also on the website. They're on social media. You can see a fancy graphic. So if anyone on the show wants to go find that, it is on Instagram, legacy_RI, or the main one, but legacy_RI. You'll see it says All-Star. You can see the teams, but I'll list them for our listeners and viewers. So first, the West, Tyler Siccione, Taj Eddington, Demoy Ennis, Chris Faig, Rich Hall, Noah James, Nick Lemoyne, and Rodney Theodore. Okay, and I'll talk about how I did these teams in a second. For the East, Elijah Brown, Malik Chase, Shaq Cologne, Aiden Dozos, Jared Hansen, Almar Sabat, Chris Vincenzo, and Kevin Views. Okay, so obviously both teams are good. I tried to split up teammates, but I also wanted to leave, to be totally honest, like Q and Noah James. I kept them together because there was 3 road dogs anyway, and I like when they throw alley-oops. I think that'd be fun in an all-star game, right? And so like I left Almar and Malik Chase, right? So I tried to obviously it's fun when teammates go against each other, like Chris Vincenzo and Chris Faig, right? That would be great because they're on the same team now. They're playing against each other. I did 2 crooks on each squad. Rodney Theodore will be playing against his teammates. And the Lob City guys got split up in Taj Eddington and Elijah Brown. All right, so Aiden, you get to make a pick in 1 sentence because we're going to wrap it up. This has been a good show, but All-Star Nights for fun, ultimately, right? But it's a really good show. And the last thing I'll say on this before you make a pick, we have music, we have an MC. The game is a little different because the first 3 quarters are normal, and we always do the 4th quarter as a target score. So what that means is they're playing to a score. There's no time in the 4th quarter, which means the game just doesn't end, right? Someone has to physically make a shot, and then the game ends on a bucket, and so someone hits a game winner automatically, right? You have to. It could be a free throw, which has happened, and that stinks, and I beg the refs not to do that to us. But we've had half-court shots. We've had, competitive games where, next bucket wins, and, you feel like you're, playing pickup, but it's a real game, right? With a ref and everything. So the fourth quarter is cool. It's different, but it's very cool playing to that target score. All right, Aidan, your team in like 3 words.
Sorry, I was going through. I'm gonna pick the West. That's the team with Noah and Q, right? And that whole setup.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
I was trying to find the whole list of teams, but just basically looking at that, I just think there's a lot of winning basketball players in that team. Same with the East; they're all stars for a reason. But I just think the West might overpower the East a little bit more.
Well, and Aidan gave me the compliment that I did a good job last time, even though on paper you're like, It's really about, well, who's going to show up, right? So there's always some, like, if this person doesn't come, then it doesn't matter which team they were on. But who's going to try, right? Like, who's going to really, like, go harder than everyone else? Some people coast. Some people are like, I kind of want to be MVP. We do have an all-star game MVP. I could see a Rich Hall trying, which kind of was taken into consideration, right? Like, he's like, I want to drop 50 and, like, win this game. Noah James has done that before. You know, Almar Sabat kind of always tries on both ends, right? And so it's like, all right, like, I want to keep that kind of even, so it's not one team of, like, you know, people trying and one team of people just gunning threes. Peyton, which team, and a couple words why?
So I'm actually going to pick the East simply because since Aiden said that he feels West will overpower, I feel East could. I like to pick the East because I like to see them do so. Because simply, it might be underdog story-ish, but it's going to work, I feel.
Yeah. Well, you got Chris Vincenzo, Almar Sabat, Kevin Views, right? Malik Chase, so Shaq Cologne, who's been great all season. So, yeah. Maya, which team and quickly why?
I'm going West, and big buckets and highlights is my.
Well, yeah, we could see some Noah James to Rich Hall or vice versa, right? And so that can get fun. And we're forgetting Tyler Sicione and Nick Lemoyne, right? That you can. I'm just kind of filling in the blanks for people listening, but that is the West. That's a large chunk of the West team. All right, Tyler, which team and why?
I'm gonna go with the West. Honestly, I'm gonna be influenced by what Aiden said because I feel like he's been watching the league more than I have to know how more of these players play. But looking from the list, I honestly feel like I was gonna pick West regardless, but I'm gonna stick with West.
Perfect. Yeah, you guys will see. Like the playoffs are one thing, right? And then All Star is a totally different thing. And luckily they, I tell them like, don't get hurt, do cool stuff, right? But then in the fourth quarter, they definitely like both teams want to win, right? Which is great to see these really, really good players playing defense, right? And trying to stop each other and win the game. Awesome. Like I said, All Star Night Wednesday, March 18th. 3-point contest is first. Dang it. Then the dunk contest, and then the All Star game to wrap it up on that Wednesday night. That's long enough. We did good. Only one game, but a lot of previewing there. So Tyler, Aiden, Maya, Peyton, I'm Joey. Everybody, thanks for watching. We will know the next time you guys see us who's in the finals. So we'll see who's right. I can't wait. We had some Air Mambas in the finals over there. We had some disrespect from Peyton. We'll see. Sunday, semifinals, 7 and 8 o'clock. It will be, both live on YouTube. First will be Road Dogs Mambas, and then Halfway Crooks Load Management to get us our championship game. Guys, good post game, and everybody, thanks for watching.